Welcome to the Enchanted Archives, where myths, legends, and ancient mysteries come to life. Exploring Greek mythology, the story of Medusa and the Gorgons. Greek mythology is filled with fascinating stories of gods, heroes, and monsters that reflect the ancient Greeks' understanding of life, death, and the natural world. One of the most intriguing and well-known figures is Medusa, a Gorgon whose gaze could turn anyone to stone. Though she is often portrayed as a villainous monster, Medusa's story is far more complex, revealing themes of power, punishment, and transformation. In this video, we will explore the mythology of Medusa, the Gorgons, and their significance in Greek culture, as well as the deeper meanings behind these captivating myths. The Gorgons were three fearsome sisters in Greek mythology: Medusa, Stheno, and Euryale. According to myth, these three beings had terrifying appearances, with snakes for hair, sharp fangs, and scales covering their bodies. Anyone who looked directly at them would be turned to stone. The word Gorgon itself comes from the Greek word gorgos, meaning dreadful or terrible. While Stheno and Euryale were immortal, Medusa was the only mortal among the three. This distinction made Medusa's fate both tragic and central to Greek mythology. The Gorgons lived far from human civilization, on the edge of the known world, emphasizing their dangerous and otherworldly nature. Their role in mythology was often that of monsters to be defeated, but as we explore Medusa's story, we see a more nuanced narrative emerge. The story of Medusa begins not as a monster, but as a beautiful mortal woman. Some ancient versions of the myth describe her as a priestess of Athena, the virgin goddess of wisdom and war. Medusa was said to be so beautiful that her appearance attracted the attention of Poseidon, the god of the sea. In one of the most well-known versions of the myth, Poseidon was infatuated with Medusa and pursued her. Unable to escape his advances, Medusa sought refuge in the temple of Athena. However, Poseidon violated Medusa within the sacred space of the goddess, desecrating the temple. Rather than punishing Poseidon, Athena directed her wrath toward Medusa. Athena cursed Medusa, transforming her beautiful hair into venomous snakes, and making her gaze so powerful that anyone who looked at her would turn to stone. This curse not only physically transformed Medusa, but also isolated her from society, condemning her to live in exile. Medusa's transformation into a monster is often seen as a symbol of injustice and victimization. Some modern interpretations view Medusa as a victim of the gods, punished unfairly for the actions of Poseidon. Her transformation reflects themes of power dynamics, where divine figures wield their authority without accountability. Others interpret Medusa's curse as a protective measure, allowing her to defend herself from future harm after being violated. The most famous myth involving Medusa is the story of Perseus, the hero who was tasked with slaying her. Perseus' journey to confront Medusa was both dangerous and symbolic, representing the hero's triumph over chaos and fear. Perseus' quest began when King Polydectes of Seriphos demanded a wedding gift that seemed impossible to obtain: the head of Medusa. Polydectes hoped to get rid of Perseus, knowing that the mission was likely to result in the young hero's death. However, Perseus received divine assistance from the gods Athena and Hermes, who provided him with gifts to aid him on his journey. Athena gave Perseus a reflective bronze shield, which allowed him to look at Medusa indirectly. Hermes provided Perseus with a sword that could cut through Medusa's scales. The Hesperides, nymphs of the evening, gave him a magic bag, Kibisis, to safely contain Medusa's head. Using his reflective shield, Perseus approached Medusa without directly looking at her. As she slept, he swiftly cut off her head with the sword. Even in death, Medusa's severed head retained its petrifying power. Perseus placed it in the magic bag and continued his journey. From Medusa's blood sprang two children, Chrysaor, a warrior, and Pegasus, the winged horse. These children were born from her union with Poseidon, further linking Medusa's myth to themes of transformation and duality. Her death gave rise to creatures that embodied both power and beauty. Medusa's story contains rich symbolism that extends beyond Greek mythology. Over time, she has come to represent different things in art, literature, and culture, reflecting both fear and fascination. In her monstrous form, Medusa symbolizes chaos and danger, the unknown that lies outside civilization. She embodies the fears of society, particularly the fear of losing control. As a figure who can turn people to stone with a mere glance, Medusa represents the power of destruction and the danger of confronting that which is too overwhelming to comprehend. Perseus's defeat of Medusa, therefore, symbolizes the triumph of order over chaos and the victory of the hero over overwhelming fear. By using the tools provided by the gods, Perseus overcomes Medusa's deadly gaze, showing that wisdom and strategy are essential in overcoming life's greatest challenges. While Medusa is often depicted as a monster, she also symbolizes a form of feminine power, one that is both feared and misunderstood. Her ability to petrify others can be seen as a metaphor for the power of the female gaze, or the ability of women to command attention and instill fear. This interpretation has made Medusa an icon in feminist thought, where she is reclaimed as a symbol of female rage and resistance. In this context, Medusa's transformation from a beautiful woman to a feared monster represents the way society demonizes powerful women, especially those who defy traditional roles. She becomes a symbol of the consequences of patriarchal oppression and the dangers of silencing or punishing women for their autonomy. Ironically, Medusa's severed head, while terrifying, also serves as a protective symbol. In Greek art and mythology, her image, known as the Gorgonean, was often used as a protective charm. Warriors would engrave the image of Medusa's head on their shields or armor, believing that her petrifying power could ward off enemies. This dual symbolism, where Medusa is both a destructive and protective force, reflects the complexity of her character. She is not purely a villain, but a figure with many layers, embodying both fear and protection. Medusa's story has inspired countless works of art, literature, and philosophy throughout history. Her image has appeared on everything from ancient Greek pottery to Renaissance paintings and modern sculptures. In ancient Greek art, Medusa was often depicted with a grotesque face and serpentine hair, emphasizing her monstrous nature. However, some depictions show her with a more human-like appearance, suggesting an underlying sadness or tragedy in her story. The image of Medusa's severed head, the Gorgonean, was used as a protective emblem on shields, breastplates, and buildings. During the Renaissance, Medusa's image was reinterpreted with a focus on her beauty and tragedy. One of the most famous depictions of Medusa is Caravaggio's painting, where her severed head is shown with an expression of shock and anguish, capturing the duality of beauty and horror. Renaissance artists were fascinated by the tension between Medusa's monstrous appearance and her tragic backstory. In romantic literature, Medusa became a symbol of the mysterious and the sublime, representing emotions that are both terrifying and awe-inspiring. Poets like Percy Bysshe Shelley explored Medusa's myth as a reflection of the human condition, expressing themes of alienation, beauty, and suffering. In modern times, Medusa continues to captivate artists, writers, and filmmakers. She appears in movies, television shows, and books, often reimagined as a complex character rather than a simple monster. Her image has also been embraced by feminist movements as a symbol of empowerment and resistance. The fashion world has also adopted Medusa's image, with the luxury brand Versace using the Gorgonean as its logo. This use of Medusa reflects the idea of beauty with an edge, something alluring yet dangerous. The story of Medusa and the Gorgons is one of the most enduring and complex myths in Greek mythology. Medusa's transformation from a beautiful woman to a terrifying monster symbolizes themes of power, punishment, and redemption. Her defeat by Perseus represents the triumph of order over chaos. But her story also raises important questions about justice, victimization, and the way society views power, particularly female power. Medusa's legacy has evolved over time, and today she serves as a symbol not only of fear and danger, but also of strength, resilience, and transformation. Whether viewed as a monster, a victim, or a protector, Medusa's story continues to resonate, reminding us that myths are not just stories of the past, but reflections of the human experience that remain relevant across generations.